I'm Jamie Clemenson. This is my Unit 8.3 session review at Carroll Park. So, planning wise, my structure was good. I had an activity going while people were getting ready so that the others weren't getting bored. So that was one of my plans, to have an arrival activity, so that if people are late or doing their boots up and things like that, then I'm prepared for that, and I've got an activity going for the people who are obviously getting a little bit bored. That then keeps their attention on the activities rather than getting bored, talking to others and maybe getting distracted. The structure was good also because I followed a logical order. So I started with a warm-up, obviously, after my activity. And it followed like a progressive order. So we started off with the basics and then progress, and then to a more competitive based level where they were in game situations and things like that, so that they get more used to playing a game, obviously, and working it into a game situation. So I did that, and it hopefully progressed the players as they went along. Detail-wise, planning, I had a little bit too much detail onto my actual plan. It could have been less, as I had to look down every time, and there was too much information to take in, like in a rush. So say if I was in a rush trying to deliver a session, then I was in a rush and I couldn't look at that quickly. So maybe if I had drawn diagrams or things like that, then maybe it would have been quicker to look at, rather than just having to read through a piece of paper or read off of a phone or a device, so that it'd just be quicker and save time and won't make it harder for me. So I'm doing really the most easiest thing for me. It was user friendly for me, but again it could have been a lot easier to read, because obviously I put it into my own words because I created it, but it could have been easier to read, so it didn't take as much time as it did, because it did take probably too much time out of the session to look at. All I kept doing was looking down and things like that. So it went a bit like that. Diagrams wise, I didn't have many diagrams, as I wrote a lot of words, so I was trying to go into too much detail without thinking about it, and thinking about it now I wish I hadn't, and just drawn diagrams so I can see easier. And I'm very good at reading diagrams, so I could have easily worked off that a lot easier. My plan for differentiations was good, because I predicted, I looked at all situations and worked from that, and to see what I could change and what I couldn't change and things like that. So it worked well. On the coaching side of things, my aim was to obviously increase development and the standard of the players at shooting. So I did the drills, I did all the shooting things like that, and I was hoping for them to come out of this and having learned something, that they're better at shooting, or they're just overall better at movement, into getting into a better position to shoot and things like that. My aim was to just get across my points, and so that they develop and can shoot a lot better than they could before. My body language was good. It was very open, so if I'd split the group in two, and I could go to one and go to the other without looking that I was just involved in one of the activities. I was standing in the middle looking at both, but I did take the turns and have a look at each side, but it was still open, very up and positive, so I'm not slouched down and maybe giving the wrong impression to the performers who are obviously doing my session. So I think the body language is important, because if you do have a slouch thing, they may lose interest and just think that you don't care, so they don't care, so they give that kind of approach. So by staying open, up, positive, then it's also a good thing, because you just stay positive. You're always looking about, you're always looking to see what's happening, what's going on, if players aren't getting involved and things like that. So it just benefits me massively like that. I'm a very verbal communicator, so on communication I believe I'm quite good. at being verbal. So talking to people, congratulating them or praising them if they're doing well, which I believe is good because it boosts morale and it boosts confidence, which is another thing later. But it just boosts confidence, and which hopefully that then goes into improving performance of the player because they feel a lot better about themselves. So the verbal communication is very important, as it can sometimes get them motivated, or just speaking to someone if they've got something bottled up, which is also increase or influence play and how they play. Adaptations, I didn't have to adapt much because I knew the standard of player before we started. So I knew that we had a footballing background with all of the performers, so they all played football, they all know how to kick a ball, all know all the basics. The weather was good. It was cold, so I didn't have to make. It was cold. That was it. So I didn't have to make any adaptations like that. So it was good. It ran smoothly and things like that. So luckily, I didn't have to make any adaptations. But if I did, then I'd have had more planned out. So weather-wise, things like that, and injuries. But luckily, it was all good and went to plan. Confidence is also a big thing. I think that I am a very confident person and can sometimes push this confidence onto other people. I believe I can bring out better things in people, so using this confidence is big and very important, as if you're confident then people listen to you, whereas if you're not then they might not listen to you and might not listen as well. It's just things like that just small simple things that if you're not so confident, they won't listen, they won't take in what you're saying, they might think it's a little bit of a joke. Whereas if you are, you're strong, you're like enforcing what you're saying, and you believe in what you're saying, then I think you should be fine, and things like that. So yeah, it builds a good one. Health and safety consideration is also a big thing, because obviously it's very important at the moment, the health and safety, everything's got to be intact and things like that. So I checked the pitch before, I checked the pitch during, and everything like that. So nothing went wrong. It was all healthy safety and everything like that. I checked for glass and things like that. Any injuries, any little twitches or anything like that, we checked over before, things like that. Just checking that, and we did all right. So yeah, it worked well. Time management was also good, because I was running a session 2 at a time, so I only had a time slot, which is a good thing. So I was running to basics, so like 20 minutes, 25 minutes a session, 25 minutes a session, and then a cool down, obviously. But it all ran well. And say I planned out my session before, so this also links into planning. So you've got your 5-minute warm-up, 25-minute session, 25-minute session, and another 25 or another 5, just to then keep it simple, so it's not too tough on them, and it worked well. My coaching style is very basic. I don't like to go too technical, because I believe people can get lost in what you're saying. So I think that it's very easy to get lost in what a coach is saying. So if you're like linking back to earlier, confident and things like that, you can get your point across and they'll listen. But if you're not confident, then it's a real struggle to get your point across. That does link in with your style, because the style you are as a coach rubs off on the performer. So it all depends on them and things like that. So style-wise, I'd say I'm not laid back. If someone's not doing it right, then I'll go and tell them. I won't punish them or anything. I'll go to them and I'll say, look, we need to focus on this. If you could do this, it'd be good. So not punishing them, because I believe that decreases performance and things like that. So so that's a big thing. I do know a lot of coaches who they're always punishing, they're always shouting and things like that, but I don't think that gets your point across, and they don't listen to you as much. So I think that if you're a calm, composed, but they're still listening to you, then I believe that that's really as good as it gets. So a coach who's shouting, arguing, things like that is no good really. My player management was also good. We had a very different standard of, well, not standard, I mean different personalities. So there's like all types of the spectrum. You've got people who are very, who listen all the time, who are really good, who are really cooperative, or you've got others who mess around and are a bit of a distraction to others, which isn't a good thing. So what I did was try to talk to them, try to get them all involved in the same drills, but try and split. So if there was a group of people who are uncooperative, then I'd talk to them, get them to, I'd split them up probably. I think I split them up in 2 groups, and so the cooperative ones work together with the uncooperative ones, and there was a bit of a mixed group in 2, so it worked well for player management. So this links into communication as well, because if you don't communicate with your players, then it's a bad thing, because they may need to talk to you for some reason, and if they feel like they can't talk to you, then it's a big problem. If they feel that they need to keep things bottled up and they just need to get things out to you, and they can't, then that's a bad thing. If you're communicating with them and keeping a good relationship with them, then you should be alright. That's all about the player management and the communication. So I'm pretty good at that, as in that factor. What went well is that I believe the session ran very clearly. It was a good session. Everyone got the most that they could have out of it. I'd like to go further and push into more coaching, but at the moment it's just doing these kind of things. I hope they got out what they wanted to get out of it. So maybe if you put the effort in, you get what you give out. So another strength is that it runs smoothly. I also ran good practices, which means they're really beneficial. So I didn't do any which would not benefit them. It was ones that would benefit them and help them in game and competitive situations, which hopefully works well, and they can learn from that. Weaknesses was probably, I could have thought about equipment more. I didn't have all the equipment in place before. I was thinking more goals and things like that, which obviously a lot easier. But when it came to balls and cones and things like that, I was laying them out before while they're waiting there, which obviously they might have lost interest and lost attention a little. But hopefully it went okay. Another weakness, again linking to planning, is probably the diagrams. I didn't think before that the diagrams, how successful they could actually be. I mean, with this kind of thing, like drills and practices and things like that, a diagram is really useful. Someone who's been playing football and teaching football before knows how to read all these drills and practices, knows how to read these diagrams. Is really beneficial, because you can use them and they're just quick to look at. You know what's happening, and it's just as easy as that. So I believe that it did go well. What went well again is my communication. So talking to them, getting involved myself, actually, like doing demonstrations and things like that. So yeah, it went well. I'd also like to do this in the future by running more coaching sessions and asking people afterwards if they're actually working. So just getting a little feedback, see what I could possibly be doing next to increase the standard of my practices and drills, to hope that to ensure that I can deliver the best practice that I can. So yeah, I'm planning on that.